Alright class, how are you guys today? My name is Ms. Vera, and today we are going to be learning the sum of two evens, two odds, and one even plus one odd, creating the rules, okay? So, what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to take out your journals, and we're going to write down the key terms, the definitions, the mnemonic devices, and the visuals, so that they can help us while we solve these problems and for future reference, so that you guys don't forget what the keywords are and how you can remember them, with just some simple memory tricks, okay? All right, so the first one that you're gonna write down is you're gonna write down even numbers. Now, even numbers, the definition, is a number that ends in 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0, and can be made into equal pairs without having anything left over. So, can anyone else think of a number that is also an even number that's not up there? Yes. Yeah, a 10. 10 is an even number. It can be divisible by 2, which is 5, and each one is paired up. So it's an even number. One of the mnemonic devices that you can use to help you remember what an even number is pairs always buddy up. Every time you go to the restroom or anything like that, you gotta buddy up. Each even number always has a buddy with it. They're never alone. They're always with someone right next to them. And that's a little trick that you can remember even numbers with. It's very easy. All right, the next number that we're gonna talk about is odd numbers. Now, odd numbers are numbers that end in 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And cannot be divided by 2 because they will never be equal pairs. There will always be something left over. So, for example, can anyone think of a non-number for me? Anyone? Yes. 11. 11 is a perfect number because look, 11, each one of them gets paired up except for 1. There's always one little one that's always left out, which means it's the odd man out, which is your mnemonic device. Every time you pair it up, but then there's one person left over. That one person means we have an odd number of people, which is bad because not everyone gets a pair. Not everyone gets a little buddy. That person is left alone. That's what an odd number is. It always has a remainder. It always has a leftover of 1. All right, so for your visuals, what you're going to write down in your chart, in your journal, for even numbers, you can draw 2 little people for buddies because buddies always pair up. Remember that. Buddies always pair up. That means they're even numbers. Always pair up. Now for an odd number, 3 people, because 3 is an odd number, right? So 2 of them get to pair up, but look, there's one left over. That person is the odd man out. They're left over. They're that one person that doesn't have a buddy because it's not an even number. It's an odd. So they're always left out. All right? So I want you guys to write all of this down in your journals. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to do that. And then we're going to move on and we're going to look at the steps on how to solve these problems and how we're going to create these rules. All right? Go ahead. All right. So now that you guys have written those things down, we are going to look over the steps on how to solve sum of 2, 2 even, 2 odds, and 1 even plus 1 odd, creating the rules. Okay? So, the first step that we're going to talk about, first you are going to look at the first digit in the problem and decide if it is even or odd. The second step is you're going to look at the second digit in the problem and decide if it's even or odd. So you're going to decide for both. The third one says add the first digit and second digit together and write your answer. The fourth step says write whether your answer is even or odd. So you're going to write it whether it's even or odd. Okay, now your fifth step says write down the rules for odd and evens the problem is following. So, now that we know the steps, let's do some example problems. I know you guys are excited, so let's do it. All right, so let's see. our first problem that we're going to do is 8 plus 6. 8 plus 6. Alright, so we have 8 plus 6, right? So, let's go through the steps and answer these problems. Ready? The first step says, look at the first digit in the problem and decide if it is even or odd. Alright, so we're going to look to the first step. The first step says we have to look at the first digit and decide if it's even or odd. So, is 8 an even or odd number? It's even, right? Alright, so that's our first step. 8 is even. Our second step says, look at the second digit and decide if that number is even or odd. Alright, so we're going to look at the second step. It's 6. Is 6 an even or an odd number? Remember, look at your reference. It's even, right? Alright, so 6 is even. Alright, third step says, add the first digit and second digit together and write your answer. Alright, simple. So what's 8 plus 6? 8 plus 6 equals 14. 14. So 8 plus 6 equals 14. That's correct. So now, the fourth step says, write whether your answer is even or odd. Okay, so now we have to decide if our answer is even or odd. So is 14 an even number or is it an odd number? It's an even number, right? Because it ends with a 4. So it's an even number. So now our fifth step says, write down the rule for odds and evens the problem is following. Alright, so what did we do? Let's see, let's create the rule. What did we do in this problem? What was the first digit we added? It was an even, right? And we added it with a what? Another even. And by adding an even plus an even number, we got, what was our answer? It was an even number, which means our first rule is even plus even equals an even number. That's our first rule. An even number plus an even number equals an even number. Don't forget that. That's our very first rule right there. And that was our example. Alright, now let's do a second example. This was our first example. Let's do a second one. This is our second example. Our second example is 5 plus 7. 5 plus 7. Alright, let's go through the rules again. Let's go through the steps again. The first step says, look at the first digit and decide, is it an even number or is it an odd number? Our first digit is 5. So everyone, what's 5? An even or an odd number? An odd number, yes. Alright, so now it says, look at the second digit and decide, is that an even number or is that an odd number? Is 7 an even or an odd? Look at your definitions again. Look at it, look at them again. It's an odd number, yeah. 7 is an odd number. Okay, our third step says, add the first digit and second digit together and write your answer. Okay, so 5 plus 7 is what? 5 plus 7. It's 12. Yes, 5 plus 7 equals 12. Our fourth step says, write whether your answer is even or odd. So let's look at our answer. Is 12 an even number or is that an odd number? Remember, look at your definitions. What is it? It ends in a 2, so it's a even number. So 12 is an even number. Our fifth step, remember, says write down the rule for odds and evens the problem is following. Okay, so what did we add in the first place? What did we add? We added a odd number plus another odd number, and what was our answer? It was an even number, correct? So our second rule is, what was our second rule? What are we saying? We're saying that an odd number plus what? An odd number, yes, equals what? an even number. Correct. Good job. So that's our second rule. You see how we're creating these rules with these examples? All right, let's do one more example. We got one more rule that we haven't figured out yet. All right, this is our third example. Everyone pay attention. Ready? All right, our third example. This is our problem. It's going to be 2 plus 9. 2 plus 9. Let's go through the steps one more time. The first step says, look at the first digit in the problem and decide, is that an even number or is that an odd number? 2. 2 is our first digit. Is that an even or an odd number? Even. There you go. It's an even number. All right. Now it says, look at the second digit in the problem and decide, is that an even number or an odd number? Our second digit is 9. So is that an even or an odd? Even or odd? It's odd. Yes, because it's a 9. Yes, so it is an odd number. Correct. All right. So now our third step says, add the first digit and second digit together and write your answer. All right, so let's add them up. 2 plus 9 equals what? 11, right? So 2 plus 9 equals 11. Our fourth step says, write whether your answer is an even or an odd number. All right, so is 11. Remember, look back to your definitions. Is 11 even or an odd number? It's an odd number because it ends in 1. Yes, it is an odd number. Okay, so let's go back. Let's see. This step says write down the rules for odds and evens. The problem is following. What is our third rule? What did we do first? What's our first number? It's an even, right? So we added an even plus a what? What did we add? What was our second digit? It was an odd number. Yes, it was an odd number. And an even plus an odd, what was our answer? When we added an even number and an odd number, we got a odd number. Yes, correct. We got an odd number. So these right here, these are our rules. Right here. You see how we came up with the rules by doing these examples? So these are our 3 rules. All right, so let's go over them before I pass out the worksheet, your practice problems that you're going to do. Let's go over the rules. What was our first rule? What did we do? We said an even number plus an even number equals a what? An even number. What was our second rule? What did we say? What did we do? We said an odd number plus an odd number equals what? An even number. Yes, correct. What was our third rule? What did we do? Remember, what did we do? We did an even number plus an odd number equals a what? An odd number. Yes, correct. All right. So now that we did practice problems, example problems, I'm going to pass out a worksheet that includes 3 practice problems that you're going to do by yourself. All right. So while you guys do that, I'm going to walk around. I'm going to help you guys out. And when you're done, you're going to raise your hand, and I'm going to go check your problems, okay? All right. So I'm going to go pass them out right now. All right. So 10 minutes have passed. I've walked around. All of you guys have finished your work. I've checked your problems. You guys understood you guys understood this, sum of 2 even, 2 odds, and 1 even plus 1 odd. You guys understood the rules, which is great. I'm very proud of you guys. All right, so that was it for our lessons. So today, remember guys, we're going to recap. Let's recap. Everyone recap. All right, so today we learned the sum of 2 evens equals an even. The sum of 2 odds equals an even number. And the sum of an even and an odd equals an odd number. All right? So remember, these problems are going to help you in our next lesson when we talk about how to subtract these numbers or multiply these numbers and divide these numbers. Knowing what an even number and knowing what an odd number is and remembering this in mnemonic devices will help you in this class. will help you understand math. And it's going to make it so much easier for you guys. Alright? So I really hope that you guys don't forget this. And if you need help, raise your hand and I will help you out. Alright? Alright, so hope you guys understood. Hope you guys have all these problems in your journals. And let's get on with our next lesson.